But I learned from him that I grew up with. Something that Thanksgiving, I'm like, one job. So watched yesterday. And pork chop, parmesan, I made where
They didn't have that, they didn't. So there's been a lot of work to get people to, roll. They do it, they do great. No, okay. I'm good. Yeah. Like your retirement. Everybody. Great for us. One person maybe.
Please stand for the pledge. That's 1, 2. Hang on. Somebody's got hot mic on there.
He did.
That's what happens when you let the kids play around in the space. Let's see. Test 1, 2. Oh, much better. I'll work on it.
Still loud. Still too loud.
I'll get it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Claire's going to fill in for invocation for us, and I'm going to go mess with the microphones.
Shall we pray? Dear Father in heaven, we'd like to thank you for bringing us here today safely. Thank you for the food that you've prepared for us. Bless it unto our bodies and so it can nourish us and help us to do your will. Thank you for the organization of Rotary, so that we can serve others and be with us all. All this we pray in thy name alone. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Claire. Got the pinch hit. I appreciate that. Can you put that on the screen there?
Bullet points?
Yes.
Bullet points. Okay, a few announcements and reminders. June 26th is what day? What's important about June 26th? Ball game, Lumber Kings. That's where we'll be. That'll be our Monday deal, and we'll do the passing of the gavel there. And I'm singing anthem, and Brady's got first pitch. We think. We'll see how his arm holds up. Okay. No meeting on the 19th. That's a holiday. We're not going to meet. So we're not meeting June 19th. That's done. That's done. We have a foundation meeting after this. So Rotary Foundation hangout. It should be brief. Gary has something else for foundation. Gary, you gotta come on up.
This is just kind of a review for
new members, and to notify the club that we got our first distribution from the River Bluff Foundation for our endowment money. So anyway, back in 2017, our Clinton Hub started the Rotary Community Foundation Fund. It's meant to be an endowment fund. So with an initial contribution of $10,000, and it was hoped that others would follow. And as of last summer, the balance was $18,360 in that fund. That is an endowment fund separate from our local club foundation. And the endowment fund is invested through River Bluff Community Foundation, and it's administered through the Community Foundation of the Great Dubuque. Currently, we have, at least my last knowledge, Cheryl Fry, Dave Pillars, Dennis Lauber, and Julie Dunn are all members of the River Bluff board. And the endowment also qualifies for the 25% Endow Iowa tax credit, and it would be open for charitable contributions. Last summer, I personally had 81,000 transferred from my 401k to this, and with the hope that we would start getting 5% annual distributions. That was deposited July 19th of last summer. So they tell us that we won't get the full 5% of our 100,000 balance till next year. This year that's annualized, and so we with the last year look back, and so we just received $1,170 from that fund that's available for our club to use for charitable efforts. The principal then, that 100,000, stays with the endowment, and the current balance as of last knowledge was February 21st is 104,326. And so I guess I'm a believer in lead by example. So I would like to challenge others to make a donation to the Clinton Rotary Endowment to help out our causes that we have here in Rotary. That way we don't have to raise so much money through our annual fund. Raising efforts at Halloween. I'm thinking about offering some type of matching challenge to light a fire for others that might want to make personal contributions from their pension plan or personally to the Clinton Rotary Endowment Foundation. Currently, so that's the endowment part of the foundation. We also, back in 2017, started the Clinton Rotary Foundation, and got IRS approval, and so that we no longer have to run our fundraising efforts through the Iowa City Club. We have our own qualifying foundation to accept any type of charitable contributions that we might want to make. The current balance as of June as it's now is 102,000 in that foundation, that the foundation upon direction from the Rotary Board can give out to some current charities. Of that 100,000, we've already pledged 5,000 to the Comanche Depot. We have also got about 16,000 going to the Comanche Depot as a result of our auction and fundraising we had. So that's a total of 20,850 to that project. Josh Yoder, we just got our bill for $1,920, and then we've got scholarships coming up. We need to fund another 3,000 to be able to give out the student scholarship. So of that 100,000, we've got like 26,000 already spoken for, and so I just wanted to notify the club of where the foundation sits. Kathy Forrest retired from Citizens First Bank, and she was also on the foundation and has 2 years left in her term. And so if there's anybody that would like to replace Kathy for her term and on the foundation, well, just let me know. Any questions about our foundation? Okay, good enough. I just wanted to give an update. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Just a note too, Gary, maybe remind myself to remind you that Wednesday is the Great Give Day. And we are a registered recipient of the Great Give Day. So you can donate through the Great Give Day to the foundation and get some credit for that. So go to their website. What's it? I had it up here.
But they have lots of matches.
Greatgiveday.org. There's matches and stuff that go there. You want to talk about that? Here, I'll bring you the mic.
There's specials during it that will
Yeah.
match funds and stuff like that.
And is that some state funding that gets funneled over there? How is that?
Yeah, well, that's what he was talking about, the Endow Iowa tax credit or something.
Okay, yeah, the tax credits. So Wednesday would be the day to do it. So consider donating as Gary asked, and consider doing it on Wednesday. It helps. Go right to their website, greatgiveday.org, and select Rotary Club of Clinton or Foundation as your recipient. Okay, off the list. That's done. There's Boo Bash meeting tomorrow at 3:30. Carrie, you want to talk about Boo Bash meeting? Okay, Carrie's gonna come up.
Oh, we have a lot of people online. Hi, everybody. Hello. You are all part of something very cool in the Rotary Club of Clinton. And you're also part of something cool with our annual fundraiser, which is the Boo Bash. So last year we had a really successful year. Dale, our club treasurer, shared some financials with me today, so I wanted to report those to the club. We have some historical information as well from the past 5 years of our annual fundraiser. This past year, our Boo Bash was the most successful fundraising event that we've had in at least 5 years, I think probably ever. So that is exciting. We had the highest dollar amount for sponsorships that we've ever had. So if you go back to like 2019, we had $14,000 in sponsorships alone. And then there are, of course, auction items and raffles and stuff that support that number. 2020, nothing. 21, $9,000 in sponsorships. 2022, we had $22,000 in sponsorships. Sorry, 21, 22. Last fall, we had 24,500. So we continue to build that number, and that's a great testament to the businesses and individuals who sponsor with a high dollar. Without getting in the weeds, I want to report that the event had a net of $38,000 in change. So we continue to build this, and that is what ends up funding all of our amazing projects for the club. So with that in mind, this year's kickoff for the committee is tomorrow afternoon. So this can be anybody in Rotary or even not in Rotary. Like if your business has a corporate membership or if your business has someone who's looking to volunteer with this committee, Boo Bash will meet tomorrow, Tuesday, May 16th, 3:30 p.m. at Grove Clinton. If anyone has questions, you can reach out to me.
Thank you, Carrie. That's all I have for announcements. Anybody have anything from the floor? Sir.
Just real quick, I've been coming around for fellowship 23-24. Wow. You guys got most of that filled up, but I also need some program help. So if you see me sitting in the front seat of your car or like, I can know what I'll be asking. If you consider any help, please let me know.
That's not creepy or anything. Okay, Doug, thanks. Anybody else have anything from the floor? Perfect. Andy Green, do you have fellowship?
Yeah.
Come on up, Andy Green, ladies and gentlemen.
How generous you people are. It's great. Those are the only two birthdays that we have.
What?
Birthdays.
Oh.
Visitors. Oh, yeah. That's my chicken scratch. Usually Susan prints these things out for me and she's not here. Print it out. So there you go.
Hey, we have two birthdays from last week. I know we've announced them already, but we'll recognize them again. Braden, did he leave already? I think Braden actually turned 30. And then Gary DeLacy, a little older than 30, but thank you, birthday brother. Oh, yeah, we have some guests. We have Christopher Smith with us today.
Hey.
And then I'm probably gonna butcher this. Austin Ludeman. Dustin Ludeman. So Dustin, thank you for coming today. Oh, hey. So yesterday was Mother's Day. So I thought we would honor some of the mothers here in Rotary. So if I butcher any of these, I ask the people for their kids' names. So it's on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list off the names of some kids, and then you have to tell me which Rotarian is the mother of those children. All right. So we're going to start with David Andy's table over here. Who has Joe, Shelley, Steve, and Charlie?
Bill Greenwalt.
We're looking for mothers. Yeah, these are mothers. Pardon? Yes, Jennifer Graff. So you guys didn't get that, so you have to double your fee. Oh, hey. Back table with Sue Watkins. Who has Ashley, Aaron, and Eric? That is Julie Dunn. Yeah.
That's insider information.
Oh, hey, this table up here. Who has Joaquin and Diego? Oh, I think yeah, Gary Denier. Oh, hey, and this table over here. Who has Joshua, Jacob, and Jesse? Sue Watkins. There you go. Well, guys, congratulations. You guys kind of know you're Rotarian mothers. Yeah, thank you to all the mothers out there. I know yesterday I was able to spend the day with my mother and then my sister, who has 2 little boys. So it's a great day to honor them. While I'm up here, can I just go into the thing? So I put, I'm going to take 12 minutes here with this. I put a flyer on everybody's table. So I think I've talked a lot about Connect Clinton County and the initiatives that we've been doing, trying to unite all of the nonprofits in the county. Did I lose the mic?
I think so.
You broke it.
You broke it.
Great, you bought it.
He's loud enough.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. There we go.
I got
So I think I've talked a lot about Connect Clinton County and our initiatives trying to unite all the nonprofits in the county. Through some of those conversations as we were going through last fall, looking at all of the school supply drives that were happening, and how people were distributing supplies. And so the conversation focused on how to unite those drives together. So everybody was kind of talking. And then that evolved into how do we, what can we do with school supply drives? And that really evolved into what we're calling the school supply project. And that is trying to supply all of our elementary schools in Clinton County with their school supplies. Right now, the way that school supplies have been handled for the last, couple generations is you go to the store, you get a list, you buy your list, you bring it to the school the night before. What we want to be able to do is through drives and donations, be able to bring the supplies right into the classrooms and deal right with the teachers and kind of leave the parent out of that equation as much as possible. There will still be, with this first year, there will still be some items that families will need to buy, but we're really kicking this thing off this week with the goal to raise the items over the rest of the summer. And then those first couple days before school starts, we'll bring supplies right into the classrooms. We've been working on this a very long time, and we've had a lot of great conversations on how to, make these processes better. And if we're dealing right with the teachers, what do we need? What do we not need? And I've met with every elementary school in Clinton County. There's 12 elementary schools, and we're looking at about 3,700 kids. So we're planning for 5,000 to be able to get every, to make sure we have a little bit of wiggle on the end there. So we're really kicking it off now. We'll have drop-off locations throughout the county. We have drop-off locations throughout the county, and we'll probably have at least 10 here in Clinton, including the Y. All the libraries will have drop-off locations, and we're going to be focused. So we know how many items that we need to supply for 5,000 kids. So as the summer goes by, we'll be putting out like, hey, we got 1,000 pink erasers. Now we only need 4,000 pink erasers. And so the June 3rd and 4th, which is a Saturday and Sunday, we'll have a school bus in front of the Walmart here in Clinton. And our goal is to fill the school bus full of supplies that day. So that'll be a great day to come out and get some supplies. But we really need supplies all throughout the summer. So I have these on everybody's tables. We'll hopefully have this in front of everybody's face like all the time with the supplies that we need, because we think this would be a really great way to help the families in our county and get all the kids on an even playing field that first day of school. So before I run off, do we have any questions? Yeah.
So how is it being worked with like the Vincent Jetter?
Yeah, so all the groups that like Vince Jetter are at the table. We've been talking to them since August. We're partners in this. And one of the things that Vince Jetter is doing is this project doesn't cover middle school, high school. So they're going to make sure that middle school, high school gets supplies. And then also we're not doing backpacks. So they're going to make sure that kids in elementary school still need backpacks. So we've been working together since this all kicked off. Yeah. Rock and roll. So I hope that every couple of weeks I can give everybody an update of where we're at. And I'm really excited for this. We've been working on this for a long time, so it's kind of great to have it start to be real. So thank you guys.
One last little bit of business here. Andy Ferguson, can you come up here for a second? You don't have to give the whole speech, but I have a certificate and a pin here for.
Oh, I want something.
No, you.
Oh, this is for, we got Bill Greenwalt got his Paul Harris Fellowship pin. So you want to present that to Sheriff Greenwalt while he's here. So Not this one, right?
Yeah, he gets that too.
He gets this one too?
Yeah.
All right, you get all this stuff, Bill. Congratulations.
Well,
I didn't read all the,
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
oh, this is remembered.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
So this is yours.
All right.
Take that. You don't need to. read it all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Annie. I have to tell my little secret. My second cousin, whose grandfather I'm named after, is part of the Hinsdale Rotary Club, and he'll be the vice president next year. His president is the architect who led the design on remodeling the Paul Harris house in Beverly, and he invited me to go to the Paul Harris house, so I get to go to the Paul Harris house. So I'll come back June sometime or other with some pretty cool pictures of the Paul Harris house. Fun. Okay, program is up to Dale. Dale's got program. There you go.
Okay,
Have you pleaded the fifth?
just wanted to see if it would work.
Can you get Bill to talk that quietly too?
Hey, this gentleman really needs no introduction, so. But he has taken care of me in the past when he was a parole officer. He used to run through the alley of my office and make sure that I was still okay, because my office was in the back of the building and the light was on, and Bill took care of me. So thank you very much, Bill.
Thanks, Dale.
I never told Dale this, but what I was really doing is checking on to make sure he's working late to get my taxes done every year. Yeah, he thought I was really concerned. Oh, I was just kidding. I had a lot of good nights. I'd drive by there at 1, 2 in the morning. I'd see Dale's car and them lights on it. I'd always shine the spotlight in to make sure that he was okay. So, but thank you very much. I want to start off by apologizing. I've been invited to join Rotary some time ago, and it's part of my conflict is Tom Detterman owns part of it. They decided to have Board of Supervisors meetings every Monday, and somehow I make the agenda for topics, but I get on there at about 11:30 and get out of there about 12:15 some days. So Tom always ran out when I had finished giving my presentation and left me there. So I'm excited. I know this isn't part of my presentation, but I'm excited to join Rotary. It's I've been honored to come here in the past and speak to such a great group of people. And when I was asked, I was really excited. And you'll hear some of my sob story as to why it's been so busy lately, but I'm really excited and look forward to being a member and some of the participating in the Blue Bash before, and great event. And so looking to be part of anything that I can get myself involved in. So, but anyway, a little bit, I know most everybody in the room. And again, thanks for having me today for such a great meal and provide me the opportunity to come up and speak. My name is Bill Greenwalt. I currently serve as a sheriff. I'm going on my 3rd year. Can't believe it's already going on the 3rd year. It's been extremely fast, and it's certainly been trying. I'll shed some lights on some of the issues that we've dealt with and some of the unfortunate circumstances that we deal with. And unfortunately, here in Clinton County, we've had quite a few in the last year or two. But a little background about me, that for those that have never met me or don't know me, is I started my career in the city of Clinton. I worked for the Clinton Police Department for about 32 years. Started pretty young as a community service officer for the city. Left the police department at the time I was elected sheriff. Retired from there after about 32 years as the deputy chief. Had a great career. I loved serving the city. And it was tough. It was a tough day to walk out of there after the same job for 32 years. Wasn't sure I made the right decision. And at that point, there was no turning back. But it's been a great 3 years. The sheriff's office, I've been asked probably 500 times, what's the biggest difference between the police department and the sheriff's office? And, there's some significant differences. The police department, we primarily focused on patrolling, crime, taking criminals to jail. We had some proactive, programs. There were some programs within the community that we participated with. But the sheriff's office, you inherit all the same patrol functions as a police department. But in addition, you run the jail. In addition to that, you run the civil side of the courts with regards to serving civil papers, foreclosures, evictions, any type of civil paper that comes through the courts that the judges sign or issued through the clerk's office. we're responsible to get served and keep track of those. Courthouse security, providing courthouse security, and you know, there's a lot to those things. A lot of times people ask, well, what do you really do? And some days, I'm not gonna lie, there's days that it can be quiet, but those courtrooms are generally active, generally busy. During my election and shortly thereafter, we were still in a COVID era, and so the courts were very quiet. But let me tell you, that only made for about 10 times the work after the COVID era was lifted. All those cases that didn't make the courts were now in the courts. We are one of our first big trials when I was elected. We had to move the jury selection outside of the courthouse due to some other issues. And we had to set it up at, I think it was the Masonic Lodge, down on Fifth Avenue South and First Street. So there's quite a few different challenges at the sheriff's office. I'm going to talk about a little bit of each. The first being the jail. You know, the community supported the funding and building of a new jail several years ago. And if you haven't been down there, please let me know, because it is an amazing facility. I know there was a lot of communications, you know, and Tom Denham and I had a lot of communications about this. There was an overage when that jail was built, and it was prior to my time taking over office. But that jail, we do have a cutting edge jail in our county that we should, you know, not that we need to be proud of our jail, but it is a great facility. And the money that was spent on it, we probably have, you know, in our communities our size, one of the nicest facilities. And the reason that we talk about that, the jail, is when I got in there, there was some things that were going on, and this is I'm not trying to pick on anybody prior to me. I just have a different way of doing things. But one of the first things that happened when I got into the jail is we realized how much mental health we're seeing in our community. Anybody that hasn't been into the jail or taken a tour of it since it's been open, I encourage you to get a hold of me and come down. And it's not that we're looking to show anything off, or I want you to see anything that I want you to go back and talk about in the community about individuals that you may see, but it's sad to see how much mental health we deal with on a daily basis. The law enforcement officers are out in the field every day. When I started 30-some years ago, mental health wasn't as big of an issue. I would say, you know, 1 out of every 20 calls was mental health related. And I'm speculating now, you know, ballparking, but I would say that out of every 20 calls, at least 50 to 60% of them deal with either some sort of mental health or substance abuse connection. It's just really unfortunate. Every day we're dealing with something in our jail where somebody has to have mental health treatment, or they're definitely, you know, may have committed a crime, but we're not doing them any justice in the jail. We spend a lot of our time, you know, transporting these individuals to hospitals and things like that. But we've done a great job, and it was a community effort. It's amazing some of the things I've learned since I've taken over. One of the first things that I learned is when somebody goes into jail, after they're there for about 3 to 4 days, we automatically have a system that, through the computer system, shuts off any type of assistance that they would get for medications, treatments, anything like that, state or federal benefits. And then they're in jail, and we provide that service. So then we're paying for it again. But then when we go to release these individuals, some of them, you know, there are criminals in there that definitely deserve to be in there. And then there are people in there that have made some bad choices, either due to substance or mental health issues. But then they get back out on the streets, and they have no medications, no hope to get their treatment that they need. And it's not easy, as we probably all know. They can't just go to a facility that day, get out at noon, and at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock be back in a facility. So as public safety, what we were doing is we were shutting off their benefits. And then when they would be released from jail, they would go back out into the community without any prescriptions, without any help, any assistance. And we as a county were shutting off their benefits. We did nothing to help them get assistance again. So one of the best things that I think we've accomplished here in the last 3 years is we created a resource center in the courthouse. We just opened an office. I kind of got a little bit of trouble, didn't I, Tom? I decided I was going to open an office in the courthouse and forgot that I needed to ask for permission for that vacant space first before just self-proclaiming it was going to be ours. But we ended up coming together, and we got a group of people together, volunteers, providers in the community, and we came together and we talked about how this was failing everybody. So what happened, they would leave the jail, they would walk back out into the community, had no hope whatsoever, and we'd say good luck, and 3 days later they were returning to jail. Within the next week they'd return to jail for some other, you know, relatively minor crime, because, you know, they weren't getting their medications, they had no housing, they had no way to get anything turned on. Most of us here, I'm sure, drove. We all have cell phones, have our homes. A lot of these individuals had no chance whatsoever to get help. So we all came together. We started our first meeting with about 15 people from the law center, the sheriff's office, the courts, and identified this as a problem. And probably within about 3 to 5 months, we had close to 50 people at the table, all the providers through Clinton County. We've been working really hard to offer a service now to reduce the rate of recidivism so that we don't have people returning to the jail all the time. And it's worked really, really well. And it's not just a reflection of the sheriff's office. It's a reflection of how many great providers, how many great people that we have in the community that came together and worked hard. There was a grant written to get somebody to fund this office. And two really, you probably heard me say this before if you've been to any of my speeches, but two of the best things that we accomplished, that we knew we accomplished something, is when I first took over as sheriff, God definitely tested me that first 6 months, because everybody said I had a black cloud following me for a while. Anything that could have went wrong. And week 2, I got a phone call, and the jail administrator said, about once a year, we get a case so severe that requires, that we have to get the courts involved, get a judge involved, and submit an order to treat somebody that's so mentally ill in that jail. And I went into that jail, and there was an individual in there, obviously I will never say his name, but he was an adult male, and he was covered from head to toe in every bodily fluid that you could possibly. I know we're eating lunch, I'm not going to go into it, but it was the worst thing I've ever seen. And it was sad. It was truly sad. This was a human being just like us that paced in a jail cell that was maybe 12 by 12, that nobody could interact with him. And they said, this is just the way he's been. Well, when we got him treatment, we got him out of the jail, we got him over to the resource center. This individual got on the right track. We got him his treatment. And he said to us, he said, not to me, he said to the volunteers that were working in that office, he said, I have to write a letter to a judge and apologize for my crime. That's the last part of my sentence that I have to complete. And they're like, okay, well, write the letter. And this individual had no idea how to write a letter. He didn't have the equipment, simple supplies such as pen and paper at his disposal to even write that letter. And the volunteer felt so satisfied that day that something so simple, but it opened my eyes to realize not everybody's been as fortunate as maybe some of us are with education and being involved. But we ended up getting that individual done. And to this date, he's remained a successful member of the community. We've helped him attain a job. And the big thing is it kept him out of our jail so that we didn't continually have to treat him, and he's been doing good. Another individual came in. It was a middle-aged female. And as she got some help in there, the walls are filled with directions on how to do this and how to do this. We even got we got employees from Iowa Works, which is a workforce development center, to come in and help people to try and get their education, or I'm sorry, their employment. And so we got a lot of people in there, but this lady had come in and she said, most people go to a spa to make their back feel better, their body feel better. She says, this is a spa for my life, to make my life better. And it was pretty satisfying, and we're pretty proud that that's come together. But one of the biggest goals is not having people return to jail every week. Our goal is not to keep people in jail. Our goal is, we have a very nice facility, but our goal is to keep the criminals in there, not the ones that need assistance, and do a good job to keep them out of jail. So that's been a real success for us. We have a facility that holds currently about 100, and we're capable of holding 119 people in our jail. Again, our goal is not to keep that as a mental health facility or substance abuse facility. But one of the things people have asked me is, I hear that we house people from out of county, and the answer is yes. We've been averaging about 60 inmates, every month that are inmates from Clinton County that have committed crimes, that are incarcerated or being held, or, like I said, some have mental health, substance abuse issues, but overall our population is about 60. But we've been asked by Scott County, we have the ability to house significantly more. So we average about 15 inmates from Scott County every month. We bring them into the sheriff's office, and then we bill them, which is kind of nice, because then we can charge Scott County between $20,000 and $30,000 a month that help to offset our cost of our jail. So that's a pretty nice feature. The other thing that sheriff's office that we deal with is the patrol. And when somebody asks me, what's the difference between the city and the county? Yeah, about 500 miles. It's 750 square miles of areas to patrol. In the city, when we investigate a car accident, we've had some very serious car accidents in the city. But when you get out in the county and the speeds are, 65, 70, 75 miles per hour, those traffic accidents are so much more significant, than the ones that we generally see in the city. In the last couple of months, I was just telling Dale, some of the things that we experienced in the last couple of months have just been, horrendous, I hate to say. I'm sure you've heard about, I know Gary has, our swatting incident that occurred in the city of Clinton here, where somebody calls in a fake critical incident, a heinous crime, an active shooter. We had one just over a month ago at the schools where somebody called in a fake call that generated a massive response. Well, just a week and a half ago, we had the same thing occur in Grand Mound, Iowa, where somebody called in a call and reported that they had killed their spouse and were holding their children hostage. And then we heard gunshots in the 911 call, which generates a massive law enforcement response, which is a huge waste of our resources. But it's a terrible trend right now that we're seeing across the country. And unfortunately, it's tough to investigate because a lot of these calls are automated, through a computer software, and we don't have a lot of success in tracking those offenders down and holding them accountable. Not saying on our last one, we've got some leads that we're working on, but you talk about a terrible trend across our country that we're dealing with as law enforcement and school officials and first responders and just a community. I hadn't had the time to tally what it would have cost us the other night for that response to Grand Mound, with about 40 law enforcement officers, firefighters, the fuel, not to mention the jeopardy and the safety. We jeopardize the citizen safety. We're running across the county at 80, 90 mile an hour to try and get there to that call. The people that, are trying to pull over and get out of our way to get the first responders there. But when you think about the damage that it causes and the cost that it costs the county, and not to mention the poor people, the students, the teachers, the administrators, the stress, of those kids that have law enforcement coming in thinking that something tragic happened at their school. This one out in Grand Mound, I just couldn't believe, and it was only my luck, that the individuals living in one of the apartments had no inability to speak any English, so we couldn't even communicate with them via cell phone directly, through good communications to make sure they were all right. But, and it wasn't targeted. This happened to be a Ukrainian family. And there was a lot of speculation out there that family was targeted in the Grand Mound incident, but it was not. I mean, I can't go into great details, but they weren't targeted. It just happened to be the house that they picked had a family that couldn't speak English. So a lot of craziness that we've been dealing with. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to throw them at me. A couple other things that I was telling Dale, I said, well, make sure you share that is some of the other differences. When I worked for the city of Clinton, I had one council to deal with, interacted with one city council and one mayor and one city administrator. Now in Clinton County, I have about 13 that I interact with. It's a lot longer hours. I always summarize it when somebody asks me, what's the difference? I say, well, it's not quite as hectic as the city for call load, but it's certainly a lot more hours. Just because you're trying to interact with the city councils and, Delmer, Wheatland, Toronto, and every town has issues and every town has great things going on. But generally we get called when they're the issues that are going on. And so you have to make these council meetings over the month. And sometimes my wife, I think she thinks I work 2 full-time jobs. I have to really reassure her that I'm not. It's just some late nights, some nights trying to get these council meetings because they're generally at 6 o'clock halfway across the county. And anybody have any idea what it takes to get from the river to the west side of the county? How many miles it is? Yeah. It's about 45 miles. Yeah. So with traffic, it's a good 55 minute ride. If your lights and sirens ain't on. And when your lights and sirens on, it's about an hour ride because nobody gets out of the way. Now sometimes we laugh and we say, it's better just to go there without your lights and sirens. But then when you pull up, people think you really weren't responding or didn't find it important. So you have to have that on. So as a sheriff's department, some of the changes that when I got there, we've got a lot of great men and women that work at the sheriff's office. One of the biggest stigmas that I tried to change is when I got there, and throughout my career, the deputies and the city officers really didn't work together well. They didn't come in, they came into the city to conduct evictions, serve papers, but it was kind of unheard of that we worked together as a big team. And I had a couple of my lieutenants and sergeants tell me, well, we've never come in. We don't come in the city unless, we don't come closer than Lowmore, or the airport road unless we have to. Our job is out there. Well, I see things a little differently. I think as a law enforcement entity that serves Clinton County and the city of Clinton is in Clinton County, I believe that we need to work together with all law enforcement. And so one of the things that I've promoted is let's work together with all of our law enforcement officers. And it's done multiple good things for not only the sheriff's office, but the other law enforcement entities is when we come in and work. If there's a critical incident, We have a critical incident in town. I tell the deputies, if you're at the sheriff's office, don't just wait until they're screaming for help. Get out there and be there to show up. The taxpayers pay our salary, paying for our vehicles. Clinton is not isolated, so we've broke that stigma where deputies were afraid, not necessarily afraid, but they were kind of instructed, don't come into the city, let the city handle things. Well, there's days that we've had critical incidents in the county. We've had shootings, we've had standoffs, and we need assistance. You know, we don't have the biggest agency in the area. So the turnaround or the benefit of that was we come in and help the city, and then when we have critical incidents, the city officers aren't afraid to come out and help us. So it's been a great improvement to what I think is law enforcement. And I've had a lot of people compliment the agency and the deputies, even law enforcement officers talking to each other now saying, you know, that was nice to see the deputy show up. We've never had deputies show up on calls in the city, and vice versa. A deputy stops a car out in the rural areas and it's late at night and he needs a backup. When we're covering 750 square miles and there's only 2 or 3 deputies working an entire shift, and somebody's in Wheatland and another officer's by Andover, it could easily take, you know, an hour. When I say it's 50 minutes straight across, that's taking Highway 30, new 4-lane Highway 30 and 2-lane Highway 30 the rest of the way. And it takes a long time that way, but then you start adding rural settings, trying to traverse through gravel roads and not 4-lane roads, that time gets really extended. So it's a great working relationship. I think that's worked very, very well for us. Trying to stay active in the community. We had no narcotics enforcement, which just blew my mind. One of our biggest challenges in law enforcement is what we deal with in narcotics. So much crime relates directly to narcotics, burglaries, thefts, you know, embezzlement. So much of what we see has a direct correlation to like narcotics traffickers. I spent years working undercover narcotics. I was a canine handler where I spent time working on narcotics. And I was literally dumbfounded that we didn't focus on narcotics enforcement. And so we've doubled down our efforts and worked hard to spend some time dealing with narcotics. We've assigned 2 deputies to a narcotics unit. And what we found is narcotics dealers, even though I like to think that they're dumb, are not always dumb. They know that, you know, we're law enforcement spending their time. So what we had happen is we were having narcotics dealers, drug dealers move out of the populated maybe cities and then get into a rural location such as Lowmore or just outside of a smaller town, so that not as much attention was drawn to them and they could do their business out there with, you know, no fear of being caught. And they knew, as I say, they're dumb, but they're not dumb. They know that we're not spending time. They know we didn't have unmarked cars. They knew we weren't working on their cases. And so they were able to flourish in their drug dealing activities in the county. And so we've doubled down on those efforts, and we have really, and bring statistics today, but we've really put the hammer on a few of those drug dealers. At least our goal is, you know, we know we're not going to eliminate them. We know we're not absolutely winning the war on drugs, but what we're doing is letting them know we don't accept it. Not only in Clinton, not Comanche, not in the county, not DeWitt. You know, we're not going to get rid of them completely off this country, but our goal is to get them outside of Clinton. So, any other questions that I can answer for anybody? I know I didn't want to keep you here too long. Yeah, Gary.
More of a comment. I appreciate the county funding the training we got through Illinois. Was it Salem?
Yep.
So I don't know if you want to talk
Sure.
about that.
Yep. As a result, and I think this is one of the best things that happened for me coming from the city to the county and then wanting to bring everybody together and work together. Had a great working relationship with Gary. He was my teacher too. So somebody was saying earlier about that age thing. Yeah. And don't listen to everything he tells you about me. Just take it with a grain of salt. But no, I've had a great working relationship with Gary. And one of the best things that I think we've accomplished, and people had said this, first time in the history of the county and the city that we brought all law enforcement, every law enforcement agency, Comanche, Clinton, DeWitt, Sheriff's Office, State Patrol, and every fire department together, and every school district together, and trained together on behalf of our kids, teachers, and schools. We had was brought to our attention of an active shooter incident management. As law enforcement, we train all the time on how to go through the door, how to find the bad guy in a situation of an active shooter. That's an area that I feel like we're really, really comfortable in. Unfortunately, that we have to train that way, but we train for that, and we have a good understanding of that. What we didn't have a great understanding is when that actually happens, keep our fingers crossed it never does, how do we react to what our community is going to do, how the parents are going to react, what are the teachers' responsibilities, what are the law enforcement managers' responsibilities, all outside the the walls of the incident. And we all came together and trained on active shooter incident management. And it not only taught us how to manage the incident from the outside, it also told us one of the most important and critical things is how do we reunify our kids with the parents who are going to be just extremely worked up, you know, frustrated, scared, nervous. And this training brought it together. So when the training got brought up, it was kind of expensive. It wasn't cheap, and we didn't know how we were going to get everybody together. But the reality here is none of us are big enough to do it on our own. We have to work together. And so I'd reached out to the Board of Supervisors and Supervisor Detterman, or sorry, no longer Supervisor Detterman. But the supervisors, I asked them to fund this through ARP funds. They had some funding, and I said, this money will be used to benefit our kids, our schools, our teachers, which affect every single person for the most part in our county. And they funded it, and we brought the training to Clinton County. We hosted 2 days of training twice, and we got every school district, every law enforcement agency, every fire department together to learn how to handle one of these incidents. We hope we never need to use the training. The crazy thing is 3 weeks after the training, we had the swatting incident at Clinton Community School District. And unfortunately, I happened to be out of town that morning, but was able to listen to the radio and listen to the officers that were running the incident, and got a call from many of them afterwards and said, you know, thank God we put that training on and had that, because it really helped us prepare for that incident. And we made a very, very, even though it was a hoax at the time, we didn't know it, but it definitely prepared us to better respond to that and make sure that our kids got extra, you know, exited the building safely. We had a plan of reunification, and we continue to work on it, but it was outstanding training. And it was just a good example of how we're all working better as an entire county, cities, to keep people safe. So, yeah.
I guess asking you and Gary this, so what is your advice to parents and grandparents that are looking for their grandkids after an incident?
In a situation like that, it is going to be extreme chaos. When we go to trainings, you know, unfortunately, that when these occurrences occur around the country, we do debriefs, we do trainings afterwards. And probably one of the biggest issues is how do we reunify the kids safely? Because some of the things that you may not think about, the school district has an obligation to make sure that we have a lot of parents that may have, you know, custody orders that the child's not to go with certain people. And even though it's a critical incident, we still have a responsibility, both the school district and public safety, to number one, make sure the kids are safe and adhere to these court orders. We can't just return kids to people that they're not, you know, supposed to. So it's a major undertaking. So what we tell people is we're going to do our best, and our advice would be we have, and I can't go into all the details because it's our tactics and we don't want it to get out. Not that I don't trust everybody here, but some of those things is just wait for direction. You know, we're going to communicate through social media. You know, some days I think social media is the worst thing in the world, but other days I think it's some of the best things in the world for us to communicate with people. And I can tell you, we work weekly, every month we're working on ways to enhance that. And we've got some plans. We've been meeting. We're a couple of weeks off now, but we've been meeting to even improve what we've been doing for years with school districts. Haven't had a chance to talk with Gary, but one of the other things that I think we're trying to do, one of the things that we learned in this training was we can't do it ourselves. And in the event something bad ever happens in Clinton, we know our teachers and our administrators and our students are going to be traumatized, but we're going to yet expect them to jump into action and be ready to function at 100% to make sure we don't make any mistakes. One of the trainings taught us, well, why don't we partner with our neighboring school districts? And so in the unlikely event, it hopefully never happens, is we have something happen in Comanche. We then partner with our Clinton schools who are still going to be impacted by it, but it's not at one of their schools, to jump into action to help the neighbor with that reunification process. And I just met with all the superintendents in the western part of the county, and excited to, and I haven't talked to Gary yet, so he's gonna, oh, that's a surprise, but trying to set up a superintendent public safety meeting quarterly so that we can all work together throughout the entire county. And, you know, and some of the superintendents in the West End are really excited because we probably have more resources on the east side. But just sharing the education and the training that we have, and making sure that we're using our knowledge and our training the best of our abilities. So, yeah.
I think one of the challenges is that the parents are going to want to go to the site. And that site is going to be further off. You're not going to, so it is, you're not going to get in, and you're probably going to be in the way. And I know that's hard, but we've developed a system that we would be reunifying well away from that school.
Yeah.
So.
And we just have
It would come down to a point, we would put out an announcement saying reunification site is here. Please report to this side of the building, and then we have a process that we're trained in how to do this reunification piece and make sure we make the proper handoffs.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. There's no doubt that and it's ever evolving too with the changes in this country and this world that we see. It's like every few months we're rethinking is that the best practice? And it's unfortunate we have to think that way, but we do in this day and age. So any other questions, Dale? Anything? I'm sure there's a lot that I could talk about. We've made some really significant changes. I'm really excited. I'm at year 3 and Dale just asked me, well, how long do you want to do this? I've already got going to my 33rd year now. And I still love it. I love it more now than I've ever loved it before. I enjoy going to work every day. It's a new challenge, 30 some years at the city. I was going to say that was pretty repetitive. It forced me when I left the police department, came to the sheriff's department, I had to expand my connections. I had to go to work and meet with Comanche representatives, DeWitt, Charlotte, Toronto. So it was a whole new challenge, but it's almost like, it's like starting a new job. It's been fun, exciting, and I look forward to it. I hope there's no end in sight, and told Dale, the day that I get lazy or the day that I slow down will be the day that I want to be done. But I really enjoy it and enjoy you guys. And the other thing when we talk about what's going on in society is, and I'll wrap it up with this, is law enforcement right now is really struggling to get applicants. We have a hard time. When I tested for the Clinton Police Department 30 years ago, I tested with 275 people and thought, well, that was a waste of time. Luckily, I got in. Now we're getting applicants. When we take our applications, we're getting 15, 20, 25 applicants. And it's even tough to get a list of certified candidates to consider to hire. So been pretty fortunate since I took off the sheriff's office, taken over at the sheriff's office. We generally get about, last time we had like 8 or 9 certified police officers from other agencies wanting to come over to ours. So I think what we're doing is working, and we're going to continue to work hard and continue to work with the communities that we serve and enjoy every bit of it. So any other questions?
Bill, how many
Yeah.
small communities do you contract with, and how much of your deputies' time does that take up?
So we contract with 10 small communities in the county, in addition to all the rural areas. And it just depends. Every county or every small town contracts for a different amount of time. And we provide them. If they contract, let's say for 30 hours a month, they're always getting 60, 70 hours. And, one of the biggest things with that is community policing. I can't stress enough. When I was a young officer, the commanders would say, get in your car, and if I see your windows up, you're going to be walking. And now we get into a squad car. In this day and age, you drive by, and I know if I asked you, everybody to raise their hand, how many times you drove by a police car and you see them on the phone, you see them, they're not waving to you. We got to get back to, I'm not a huge history buff, but the thing that I'd like to see us is, when they say, hopefully history will repeat itself to a certain point. We got to get back to where we get out of the cars, our windows are down, we're talking to people. I think we get so focused on all the technology. If you get in the cockpit or you get into the squad car now, it looks like the cockpit of a fighter jet with cameras, computers, printers, scanners, 50 buttons for every light and everything in there. It's no wonder that their windows are up, because it's hot in there because of all the electronics. But I don't think that's the answer for the future. Some of the things that we've seen across this country, and I'll leave it at this, is we've seen a lot of bad things happen across this country where law enforcement officers do something really stupid. The hardest thing that I had to answer was for my daughter, the day that the George Floyd incident up in Minneapolis. My daughter asked me when I came home, I was in uniform. She's like, Dad, did you watch that? I said, yeah. She's like, what'd you think? And before I could even respond to her, she's like, that's horrible. That's terrible. Cops shouldn't do that. And I'm like, she said, cops shouldn't do that. And that hit me pretty hard. And I said, you're right. I said, absolutely. That individual needs to be held accountable. And never once have I been trained ever to kneel on somebody's neck that's already been in handcuffs. My entire career, I've used a taser one time and the person thanked me for it. I've never hit anybody with an asp, and I've used pepper spray maybe less than 6 times. And so it's sad that we see some of the terrible things that go across this country. But what I will tell you is I still think 99% of the cops in this country get up every morning and with the intent to do the right thing. I'm not saying we don't make mistakes. I make probably more than any of them. But the men and women out there that are serving every day, and that, from heat to cold, the rain to sun, to, from 100 mile an hour to 5 mile an hour, every day, the vast majority of them are still trying to do the best they can. And then there are a few people out there that just don't deserve a gun and a badge. So, yeah. Anything else? I don't want to keep everybody, and I don't want to get kicked out on my first day. So, yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
No. Thanks, Sheriff Greenwald. I'm gonna get you to commit to not pinch any more of my staff.
Yes.
I'll submit the show. Great, so every week on behalf of our guest speaker, we donate a book to the Children's Library. And this week it is The Life of Harry Houdini. We don't have a book. So we'll get to the book, if you get signed up, we'll get that over to you. Thank you so much, Bill, for that presentation. Thank you to Claire for filling in for invocation. I appreciate that. And Dale for program. Fellowship, Andy, thank you for taking care of that. There's a foundation meeting immediately following this. Anything else for the good of the cause? Hey, we are adjourned. Imagine Rotary.
Thank you again. Oh, yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you have to come back because we have.
Mm.